So welcome to our January demonstration grant talking stick session, our first session of the new year. Thanks for taking time to spend with us on this Thursday afternoon. As we get going, I'm going to go ahead and play our standard disclaimer. This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred. All right. So as we get going today, we're going to be introducing you to some new OIE staff, talking about the ever popular budget revisions and some grant requirements. We're going to have time to do some breakout group discussions, all of the topics of which were things that all of you had expressed interest in some of our previous meetings and wanted some time to be able to chat about. So we wanted to provide that. We have some updates on the project director meeting coming later this spring and some other upcoming events. If you have any team members who weren't able to join you today, or if you're thinking, oh, I hope I can review this information later, remember these are all recorded and we'll have that up and the link out to you within the next couple of days. So we have updated the org chart because, as I said, we have had some new folks join the OIE team. You'll notice that now Dr. Donna Sabas-Burns, who has been working as program officer for some of you with your NYCP grants, she's still going to be working with you and transitioning out, but taking over as the new program officer for our NYCP grants is going to be Donna Bussell. And I'm going to give a little shout out to her momentarily after this. And then we also have a new program officer for our Knowledge D programs. So we have Jennifer Leo joining the team to take that over. So really exciting to be really building out the team at OIE and then better able to support all of you out in the field. So as I said, that means there's an update to your program officers. So in the next few weeks, you should be getting a new GAN, which will reflect any change in your program officer. Bianca will be continuing to work with the ACE grantees, and Donna will be working with the NYCP grantees. And Donna is actually joining us today, and we'll give you a little hello. So be sure and welcome her. And I know she's looking forward to getting to know all of you and all of your grants. And then also on with us today, I think I've met most of you virtually now. I'm Sarah Brightwell, and I'm the technical assistance lead for the OIETA team. But I'm excited to introduce some of our other OIETA team members, kind of a tongue twister there, that you may or may not have had an opportunity to meet before. So we have with us Olani Lilly, coming all the way from Hawaii, and Tracy Madej George tuning in from Colorado. We are all over, much like all of you. All right. So as our kind of opening thought and our icebreaker today, I want us to think a little bit about not New Year's resolutions. Everyone's tired of hearing about New Year's resolutions. But I was thinking about, the things that I'm hearing as I'm talking with many of you about your programs and about what's going on in your communities, and how many things a lot of us are feeling like are just out of our control right now. And that there's just a lot of things that we don't have answers for, a lot of things coming that we just don't know what's going on. And so it reminded me a bit of, the water, the ocean kind of coming in and out, and we're getting tumbled around, whether we want to or not. And a lot of us feeling that way this time of year. But I don't know if any of you have ever seen sea glass. If you haven't, it's very, very pretty. So there's my little hokey picture of sea glass. And so if you are familiar with sea glass, it has to go with the tides. It gets rolled over and over. It doesn't have much choice over that either. but then it turns out so beautiful and so pretty. And so I want us to think about that. Even though there's a lot of things out of our control right now, and we may feel like we're really getting tossed around, I know wonderful things are going on in your programs, and you have folks who are doing great things. So as we look into the spring, see, Tracy even has a nice jar of sea glass for us. So as we look into the spring, what is our sea glass moment? What are those things that we are looking forward to in our projects and in our programs? And I'll invite you to share in one of two ways. You can annotate directly on the screen. If you're familiar with this, if you look at the top of your Zoom window, it'll say that you are viewing Sarah Brightwell's screen. And then out beside it, it'll say view options. If you hit that, one of the options is annotate. And when you click annotate, it brings up a nifty little toolbar where the third option is text, and you can click that. And then you can literally type right on to our beautiful beach here and share with us, what are you looking forward to as your sea glass moment this spring? If the annotation is not working for you, or if it's just more comfortable, share with us over in the chat box. Either way is totally fine. Let's see, warmth, yes. I live in Texas, and even central Texas in Austin, we got 4 inches of snow on Sunday, which is just unheard of. Everyone thought it was the end of the world. So I'm sure many of you need more warmth than that. Sunlight, connecting with our communities. Wonderful. Let me. Yeah. Healthy communities, teacher training that you have coming up. Yeah, I know a lot of you have that happening. Seeing folks again, having kids in your building, survey results and program feedback on the virtual programs. Great. The return of light skies in the afternoon. I like that. Travel opening up. Don't worry if something of yours moves. I'm just going to move these just a hair in some spots so I can see everybody's responses. Wonderful. All right. And then I'm also going to just pop over to the chat box for those who are sharing there. The sparkle of insight in the eyes of our children. It's beautiful. All right. Well, feel free to keep sharing in the chat. What I'm going to do is actually capture this right here that we have on our screen. So don't worry that all of your wonderful sea glass moments are getting swept away. But we are going to clear the screen, and then Rashad is going to magically take away your power to write on the screen, because otherwise we'll accidentally have marks throughout our time. So let me clear that away. And thank you so much for sharing with all of us. I think it's just nice to kind of start out looking forward in a positive light as we start our time together today. And as we move into budget revisions, I know a little abrupt to go from beautiful sea glass to budget revisions, but I do want to give you hope on these, that if you have not heard back, it's not that you have been forgotten. It's that there are a lot of you and a lot of budgets, and your program officers are giving them the care and attention that they deserve. So they are going through, they're providing great feedback to everyone. So know that if you have not heard back yet, yours is coming soon. They are working through them in the order received. But also remember, you don't need to wait to hear back on your budget revision in order to begin expending funds. You can continue expending according to your original budget until that new budget is reviewed and approved. So if in your budget revision you made big changes or added things, remember that you'll need to wait until you get your revision. But those existing things that were already in your original budget, you can already start expending those funds. So don't let that hold you up. You can already begin implementation. And speaking of implementation, this is specifically for our ACE grantees. So if you're an NYCP only grantee, you can kind of plug your ears for about 2.5 minutes. For our ACE grantees, some of you are wrapping up your planning periods. Some of you, your planning period ended the end of December, and then we have others kind of cycling in now whose planning periods end the end of February or the end of March. And remember that there are some requirements then that come with moving into implementation. So by the end of your planning period and before you start your implementation period, you need to submit 4 specific things to Bianca via email. One is that description of your operational service selection process. So how are students and families going to select from your menu of services? 2, a description of the operational parent involvement and feedback process. So how are you going to be garnering that feedback from families? 3, a sample of the written agreement between you, the grantee, and your service providers, as well as, this is a 2-parter, a list of the providers with whom you've signed written agreements. And remember, we had that workshop back in November on contracts and agreements. That is up on our YouTube channel, so you can review that information if you need some just refreshers on what is required to be in your written agreements. But you'll need to provide both a sample of that written agreement and a list of those providers. And then the 4th item on your checklist here is a description of the process that will be used to choose students to be served in the event that the demand for services exceeds the available capacity. And we've talked about this one a few times. This is the one where it's, maybe you're assigning a certain number of points per service or weighting them a certain way, but how are you going to make sure that you have a process in place if you have more students who want to partake in something than you have spots available? So those 4 items are due to Bianca, again, by the end of your planning period and before you start your implementation period. If you have questions about any of those, if you want to talk through what you've put together, you're always welcome to reach out to the TA team, and we're happy to chat with you, as well as reach out to Bianca, and she's happy to chat with you as well. All right, so it is time for our breakout groups. I do want to just make sure if you have any questions on those first bits before we head over into our breakout groups, you're welcome to pop those into the chat box and we will make sure to address those as well as while we move throughout. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 different things in your breakout groups. So you're going to be split into 3 groups with Olani and Tracy and myself. And we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to be talking about service selection methods. This was something that folks had really said they were interested in learning, what do other people do, whether it's other ACE grantees who had that as a requirement and what have they put in place or what are they planning, as well as for you NYCP grantees, how do you register participants? How do you have students sign up to be part of your programs? So we'll do a bit of sharing around that. We're also going to talk just a little bit about GEPRA measures. So in particular, we want to know, what are those areas that you have questions or you would like help with? So that's something that's come up again as a topic of interest. And so we really want to know before we're putting any TA out there, what are those areas where you have some questions or where you want some additional assistance? And then finally, we've had lots of interest in sharing about how each of you in your projects and in your programs are adapting to the COVID restrictions in your area. So this is both a time to ask questions as well as to kind of brag on your program and the things that you've been able to achieve, because it can be really helpful to just hear, oh, that's worked for you. I might be able to do that as well, or all those different benefits of that networking and sharing. So we're going to go ahead and break you out. This is one of those, remember, where it's going to pop up and ask you to join a breakout room, but it'll then suck you to the other room. So your window is going to kind of change. Don't worry. It's just putting you in your breakout room. And then we'll come back together, debrief a little, and then talk about PD meeting and upcoming events and a number of other things. So we'll see you soon over in Breakout.
Hi there. Should I get a pop-up for the breakout or do I just pick a group?
Did everyone get muted?
No, I can hear you. I don't know if can anyone else hear me?
All right.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Are we back in the breakout?
Yes, I think there might have been an audio delay where our faces came back without audio for a minute.
Oh, was that the issue?
Yeah.
Weird.
I was just talking away. All right, well, let me try that again. We're back. I apologize because I know probably it cut all of us off in our various rooms mid-thought and mid-share. But once the breakout time is over, it does have a tendency to just swing us back. If you were in the middle of a share or a question, if you wouldn't mind popping that in the chat box, either as a public message or a direct message to me, we'll make sure to get that in there and answered. But I want to point out, we really want to keep this conversation going because we know we only have a limited amount of time in the talking sticks and we have lots of great ideas, great questions. So like we've done before, we are going to keep that Padlet like we were using for note-taking open so that you can continue to add to it. We'll continue monitoring it and responding, but we also hope that you check back occasionally and respond as well so that it is conversational. We'll also be looking at the recordings in case there was anything we missed, any questions or ideas, we can pop those in. So I don't want anybody to think that, you know, theirs is going to get lost if it maybe just didn't get quite recorded yet. But we really want to continue using that as a way to keep the conversation going in between the times when we get together each month. So I'll give you that link over in the chat box right now to that Padlet. And pop that in. And then I've had a couple of messages about having longer times for discussions. I'm kind of curious, actually. So we're going to do just a quick poll with our participant buttons. So first off, let's find our participant buttons. If you are looking at the bottom of your screen, it'll say participants with the two little people. And if you click that, it opens up a list of everybody in this meeting. But down at the bottom, it should have some little buttons for you to be able to vote. Or if you have recently updated your Zoom, it will be under now your reaction button. Okay, so a couple of places where you may be able to find that now. But if you could just indicate yes or no. Yes, you think that 90 minutes, you would like the talking sticks to be 90 minutes for more discussion, or no, you're good with the standard hour and then, you know, just doing some follow-up. So if you can kind of use those participant buttons to do some voting, just getting some quick feedback based on that conversation.
Or can there be another option where it's like it's still 60 minutes, but maybe it's a grantee to grantee sharing in that 60 minutes?
Yeah. No, any of those ideas you have like that, you know, feel free to both. You can pop them in the chat, also in the feedback survey if there's something that comes to you later, or just reach out to us later. So thank you. All right. So we're going to go ahead. We have a couple more things that I want to make sure you get the information on. One of which is the project director meeting, because I know all of you have been super curious about when and being able to mark off that time. So we are going to be doing the project director meeting in April. It will be April 20th to 22nd. That is a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday. It'll be in the afternoons from 1 to 6:15 Eastern time each day. Don't worry, there's some breaks built in. So don't feel like you're going to be glued to your computer for 5 hours each afternoon. There are some breaks. And we will have more information coming out on that soon, but I wanted to be sure. I promised as soon as I had a date, I would let you know. And we just got that date and time nailed down. So you were the first group to get that information. And we'll be sending out a save the date as well. Now, I know the question always then comes up as far as, I think we have a little noise. If we can make sure we're muted so everybody can hear. So there's always lots of questions about who should attend the project director meetings. So as we think about that piece, we're going to be inviting each of you to bring up to 3 people, including yourself. So some thoughts around definitely the project director. It is a project director meeting, so we do need each of the project directors to attend. That is a requirement of the grants. For your other 2 folks that can attend, it is up to you to decide who you think would most benefit from participation. But some thoughts around, if you have an evaluator, if that's applicable to your project, it could be beneficial to include them. Whoever it is that's actually leading the implementation of your project. I know many of you have like program directors, project coordinators, they go by many varied titles, but they're the folks who a lot of times are leading that on the ground work. So I think those could be some ideal folks that would really benefit from the sessions and things. But like I said, we'll be getting you more information on the specific sessions so that you can make those good choices about who your team should be for attendance. And of course, like we've talked about before, it will be entirely virtual, so able to join from anywhere. The other thing I want to talk to you about in regards to the project director meeting is asking you about some participation. So we are wanting to give some opportunities to showcase your programs and projects, the great things going on in your community. So if that is something that you would be interested in, where I have something I really think would be great to highlight that other folks could learn from or be interested in, or is just a great project, please reach out to me at oie@seiservices.com. Think about where your program and your students have been excelling. What makes you particularly effective or unique as a project, or some great lessons learned, particularly for those of you who, have been operating your grant for a few years now. What are those really important lessons that you've learned that might be great for the new folks to get? So if that's something you'd be interested in, we are going to be working on those between now and April, probably even some after that. But just shoot me an email at oie@seiservices.com and we can work through what that would look like and entail, and how we can best highlight the great things going on in your programs. I'm really excited to work on these, and I think you'll really enjoy them as well during the actual PD meeting, being able to get these peeks into your peers' programs. Now, I did see over in the chat box a question about including our finance person. I would really say, look at the sessions when they come out. I think unless that finance person is pretty involved in your project, there might not be as many things that they would find use in. You may see that there's certain sessions you would like them to attend more than others. So you might approach it that way. I also see a question about, does the team of 3 people have to be the same each day? I will double check. I don't think necessarily. Also, because I happen to know, Allison, you have a couple of grants. Your team doesn't have to be the same across your grants either. So it might be that your STEP grant has one team and your NYCP has a different team, and that's all totally okay. Yeah, so basically each of your PR numbers could have a team. Great questions. All right, I already touched upon this. So just reminding you, I'm gonna have this, I'll pop it in the chat box again for you to be able to continue brainstorming on the things that we talked about today and continue discussing that. As well as I just do wanna kind of harken back that as we continue along, if you have things that you would like us to address in our distance learning series that we've been doing, please let us know. While we have like the one set up for the next couple of meetings, we are always looking to be responsive to the things that would be most helpful for you. So let us know those distance learning topics that would be useful, as well as, you'll see we have other areas for other questions. If there's things that you want us to cover in Talking Stick, or like the idea about doing the grantee to grantee share in a breakout, let us know. This is a great place to be able to put those ideas, because if you're like me, I get done with the meeting and in about an hour, the information sinks in, and that's when I get my idea. So this is a great way to be able to come back and still share that idea, and we can take it and run with it without keeping you online all afternoon. So a plug for some of our upcoming events. And I do see a question from Clarence. Yes, the PD meeting is for both NYCP and ACE grantees. It's actually for all OIE discretionary grantees. So it is for STEP, NOLA-ED, PD, NYCP, and ACE. So it's going to be everyone all together for a large scale PD meeting. So upcoming, we have a lot of great things going on in January. On the 26th, we have our next distance learning session on communicating with families and students. Then February 9th, we'll be talking about connecting and engaging those students offline. So those who maybe don't have internet access, or you're just looking for ways to connect offline anyway. And then February 23rd, collaborating online. That'll be for working with both students and staff, some ideas for collaborating that way. Remember, those distance learning sessions are open to your whole team. So if you have other folks on your team, teachers, anybody who would benefit from that, they are welcome to join those. They are not just specific to you. So feel free to share that information out. Then we have our January office hours on the 28th from 1 to 2 Eastern. Remember, those are our informal open sessions where you can pop in and out at any point in the 2 hours and ask any questions you might have, get feedback on anything. As much as possible, we have folks from the various OIE programs available to take those questions that need their specific guidance as well. So always a good time to get some feedback. We have our next Talking Stick in February on February 11th at 3. So that should already be on your calendar, but make sure that's there as well. And then finally, next week, that's our next event, is our ACE Personnel and Services webinar. So this is just for our ACE folks, because we're going to be talking about things very specific to that priority in regards to both personnel as well as the services and service providers. So that will be next Thursday at 3 o'clock. If you do not have a calendar invite for any of those other than the office hours, we just send out the link for you to make your own calendar invite since it's optional. But any of the others, if you would like to register and get calendar invites for, but you have not received, again, you can reach out at oie@sceiservices.com and we can get that fixed for you. All right, so if you have any questions, remember you can pop those in the chat box. I see, how do you sign up for the distance learning events? And can we email it out? Yes, so I will email out the upcoming events when I send the slide deck from this session afterwards and the link to the recording. And I'll also include a link for you to be able to sign up for the distance learning. Because when you sign up, you can actually sign up for the whole series and it'll just put all the calendar invites for you through the end of February. So I'll send both of those out. And then Sarah Whitehead has conveniently popped over in the chat box a link to our feedback survey. If you haven't tried it out before, today's the day. It is super short. It takes 2 to 3 minutes if your internet's slow. It is very easy, but it is very helpful. So please, 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 if you would take that 2 to 3 minutes to complete the feedback survey, we would greatly appreciate it. But I will also pop up on your screen, super easy, are also in event poll. So if you don't mind fast fingering in our standard end of a talking stick poll to give us just a little bit of feedback here. And then the feedback survey, again, just gives us a little bit more information and is super helpful. I will pop up that contact info. You'll see that just like we talked about at the top of the hour, Donna Bustle's information has been popped on here for your convenience, as well as if you were trying to take down that TA team email, that OIE email, that's available for you as well. Just a reminder that if you will please include your PR number and the name of your grantee in your communications, it really helps us honestly be able to get back to you faster. Because whether it's us at the TA team or your program officer, it allows us to then know who we're talking to and give you the correct info just in a much quicker manner. So great tip for those communications too. So it looks like most of you have been able to take the poll here. So I'll go ahead and close that. And then I will actually stop share for our finish today. We finished with approximately 30 seconds to spare, just in the nick of time. If you have any more questions, we are happy to stay on and answer some of those. I hope that you'll both complete the feedback survey and join us over on the Padlet to continue the great conversations we were having in our breakout rooms. But we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We look forward to seeing you throughout January on our variety of events, and then definitely back together for our next talking stick in February. Thanks, everyone.